Well, hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 31, our bonus day, our summary day for the Get Up and Go Challenge. Hopefully you have gotten up and gone and done at least some of the activities. I, of course, hope and wish for you that you've done every one of the activities because I know the powerful impact it can make on your life. I'm just going to run through day by day a quick summary of what we did during the 30-day challenge. Hopefully you'll find this helpful. It is going to require me to grab my magnifying glass and look at my notes because I cannot remember everything we did every day of the 30 days. That's how much we covered in the 30-day challenge. First thing we did is we talked about the challenge. We talked about I love this one. One of the hardest things that we ever do in the morning is we get out of bed, to take action, to get moving towards something. And when there's a challenge or a difficulty or something tough going on in our life, it's even harder to get that motion going. But an object in motion tends to remain in motion unless acted on upon an equal and opposite force. Newton's law, right? So we want to make sure that we get up, we get going, and that we get moving toward what it is that we want. So day one was all about the challenge, what it's about, our action item. I am looking for another sheet that gives me a better summary of this than this, because otherwise it'll take me forever to go through. But that's what we did. We talked about the challenge, the layout. We talked about, well, I have lists and papers everywhere. This is what happens when doing more than one challenge at a time. Thought I had my stuff in order, and then I can't find my day 1 through 8 sheet. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we talked about the Get Up and Go Challenge. Let's go. Day 2, we talked about where you are right now. What's your current situation? Now, hopefully that in 30 days, your current situation is changed dramatically from where you were 30 days ago. I know I am in a totally different spot than I was 30 days ago with respect to what I'm doing, what I'm focusing on, the direction that I'm going to move me lightning fast toward my goals. I just experienced a training yesterday that I know is going to supersize what I was doing by the end of this year instead of over the next couple of years. So there's always something that we can find out and figure out. But we first need to know, where are we? What's our current situation? Day 3, we talked about what we want. We talked about what we want because unless we're focusing on what we want, we're never going to get it, right? We have to be focusing on what we want. On day 4, we talked about why we want it. And actually, all these pages in here are me going through the exercise, the 7 whys. Why do I want something? 7 whys deep. I did this with my son. It was really interesting. We both have one of our whys is the same, but mine was like 6th or 7th, and for him it was number 4. And I found that really, really enlightening. But doing that 7 why exercise is really, really powerful. On day 5, we started talking about the challenge process. We did the long version of the challenge process, and we actually talked about this on day 3 as well, and the short version of the challenge process. We did an overview of the challenge process and what it looks like so that you can simplify it and make it a part of your automatic response system, right? Your ARS. We automatically respond to things already, but this way, if you make a process like this a part of your natural way of being and behaving, it makes everything go much more smoothly, and you get the results that you want, not just the results you think that you're stuck with. And here's the interesting thing about my challenges. They're very flexible. They start out, I do a 1 through 30. This is what the topics are going to be. And by about day 3, I had already thrown that out and had changed it dramatically. So day 4 was your why, 7 why deep. Day 5 was your challenge process. How do you currently, we talked about the challenge process, but then we asked ourselves, when I asked you, how do you handle challenges right now? Because we all have a process and a way that we handle challenges, whether we're aware of it or not. So the point of that day was to make you aware of how you're doing it. When I get faced with challenges in certain ways, I will procrastinate. I will put things off, and if I don't want to do it, I will procrastinate. And as soon as I catch myself procrastinating now, I jump into the challenge process. But I didn't used to know that until I analyzed and realized, oh my God, my natural reaction to change is to stop and procrastinate. And I wanted to knock that off, so that was the power of day 5. Day 6, we talked about the long challenge process, and we went into that in detail. Day 7, we talked about the short challenge process, and we went to that in detail. Day 8, we picked one area of our life that we were going to focus on for the challenge, one area that we wanted to see massive improvement in. And we picked that for the challenge. And those areas, again, are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationships, finances, contribution. Any one of those areas. If we're not paying a little bit of attention to each of those areas of our life, we're going to get into trouble. I tried ignoring my health for a long, long time, and I ended up having bigger and bigger warning signs from the universe, from the world, from God, from whatever. And I had bigger and bigger health challenges, up to and including a sudden cardiac arrest, because I wasn't paying any attention to my health. That's a primary, physical is a primary, one of the main areas of our life we have to pay attention to. And by not paying attention to it, things happen to get my attention, to say, hey, we're over here, your body, your health, you need to pay attention to us. And that will happen in every area of our life. If we don't pay attention to our finances at all, what happens? We will have a financial challenge that will give us a wake-up call. Same is true of any area of our life. It's what our planet's going through right now. We are going through a massive health-related, and I say spiritual health and everything else related, wake-up call on a global level with the COVID-19 pandemic. So day 9, we talked about BFAT. And BFAT is, we did a worksheet for your beliefs, emotions, feelings, actions, and thoughts. That's BFAT. Day 10, we brainstormed other possibilities. We did the BOT method, where we brainstormed all different possibilities of what we could possibly do to positively impact, because we don't want to negatively impact our area on purpose, right? So if you picked finances, you would then brainstorm at least 10 things on day 10 that you could possibly do about your finances. You know, it might have been that you could call your mortgage or call your landlord and see if there was a way you could put off the rent. It might be a way of getting better terms on your credit card. It might be better terms on any one of your loans. It might be a forgiveness to push something off. It might be a payment plan for something. Whatever, you had to brainstorm 10 things and then pick 3 of those things. On day 11, we, excuse me, we analyzed those alternatives, and I gave you several different ways that you could analyze alternatives to pick the one that you wanted to, on day 12, go ahead and put to the test. And we wanted to take, and we did take, immediate action on day 12 to do one of those things, or to move us toward accomplishing one of those things that would move us toward our goal and our objective, toward what we want in day 12. On day 13, we looked at the result. What happened from the action you took? Did you get a result that moved you toward what you want or away from what you want? And we began the doing one thing a day exercise, where one thing a day from that day on, we add or do to move us toward our goal. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but we have to do one thing every single day in order to, bit by bit, get us to our goal or objective. We also talked a little bit on day 13 about, all we did was share our result. Day 14 was a check-in day. We're almost at the halfway point then. I just wanted to kind of check in and see how everybody was feeling. So we talked about feelings and progress, and our action item that day was to remember that we're doing one thing every day. And it was just to check in, how are you feeling today and how are you progressing? And that if you had a thing that worked, you wanted to create a habit or a system to move forward with that. Day 15, we talked about something I learned from John Gordon about grit, and there's 5 D words that you often feel, and they're doubt, distortion, discouragement, distraction, and division. We talked about the response that you need to have whenever you're feeling any of those things. Day 16, (13, 14, 15). It's in here somewhere. 16. Day 16. I reminded everybody to do the one thing a day to move you toward your goal. And we talked about the fact that every single one of us are experts at certain things. And since we're business owners, how do we serve our people with our unique special genius zone and expertise? Day 17, we talked about, well, who do you serve? Who do you help? Who do you solve problems for? Who do you even want to help? And your ideal client and customer. Day 18, we talked about your target audience, because we identified them in day 17. Where the heck do they hang out? Where do they congregate? And then we talked about the concept of Dream 100, which is my absolute positive favorite way to build any business, to build any community, to build anything. Day 19, we talked about how to communicate with those people. How do you correspond and communicate and get in touch with the people that you want to be connected to, your Dream 100, the people that you want to help you help other people or reach other people faster and easier. Day 21, we talked about life not being an emergency, and we shared in the comments one thing that we feel differently about now than before the coronavirus, which is just kind of a fun activity, kind of a fun break. Again, remember, we're still doing one thing every day to move us toward that one main area that we want to improve in our life. Day 20, we talked about building our own community and platform, and we talked through some of the nuances of that, because it's a lot easier than people think. People think it's so hard and impossible, but it's really not hard or impossible at all. Day 21 and day 22. Day 20 and 21, of course, I mixed up and changed my mind right as I went to speak about them. So day 20 was about building your community and platform. Day 21 was life is not an emergency. Sorry, messed that up. Day 22 then, we hopped on and talked about, I've gone right to day 24. Where's day 22? Oh, day 22. Day 22, we talked about a couple of concepts. Mostly, everything happens for a reason and for our own personal development. Sometimes it feels like the world's out to get us, but that's kind of a mindset thing more than actually. That's one of those distortions, those lies we tell ourselves. Oh my God, I'm a victim. Everything's out to get me. Why me? Poor me. But really, things happen to show us what we need to see and what experiences we need to have for our own personal development, for our own experience, for our own life experience. So that day was a mindset day. We talked a lot about mindset concepts, that everybody we meet, everything that happens to us happens for a reason. And we need to look for that reason in order to learn the lessons so that we don't, because some people come into our lives and they're an example, right? And they're a really positive impact on our lives. Other people and situations come into our life and they're negative and they're really bad for us. And they're a warning, right? So examples of warnings, people can come in both forms, but they all come into our life for a reason, to show or teach us something. Day 23 was we actually picked another area of our life to run through the challenge process on. Want to make sure we got through it at least twice during the 30-day challenge so that you understand and internalize the process. And I gave an example of relationships, personal relationships, which is very personal and very hard for me to share, by the way. Day 24, so day 23, we picked another one of those 7 areas. Remember, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, or contribution. And I did relationship on that one, which was not what I planned on doing, but I did it anyway. Day 24, we talked about we'll do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure, and that we need to use our pain in order to, pain propels us, right? We need to use that to move us forward instead of letting it stop us. We talked about triggers, patterns, and questions briefly, and the importance of that. Oh, and we talked about uncertainty, that the devil we know sometimes will keep us in situations longer than we should. Shared a couple of examples of that from my life, versus the uncertainty of something else, and how we need to, especially in these uncertain times, make sure that we're not being frozen in place and staying in situations that we hate because of the uncertainty. Uncertainty needs to be the fuel that gets us to look at our priorities, analyze our priorities, and say, is this really right for me now? Is this right for me still? Day 25, we talked about the past does not equal the future, making peace with the past. Forgiveness is for you, not for the person that you need to forgive, and that the current moment now is all we have. So we talked about now and mindfulness. Day 26, we talked about being grateful and gratitude. We talked about questioning everything. Everything I say, everything anybody says to you, every guru, make sure you're filtering through, is this right for me? Is this information something I need now? Do I need to be paying any attention to this? Or do I think this is absolute poppycock nonsense and it just doesn't resonate with me? It's not right for me right now. We talked a little bit about the power of questions. Day 27, we talked about the power of giving, and that we need to give in order to receive, give in order to get what we want. We need to be planting seeds, and that we don't reap anything that we don't sow. And that's the importance of giving. We can give our attention, we can give our hugs, we can give our wisdom, we can share our information, we can teach people how to do things. There's all kinds of ways to give that have nothing to do with money, right? But a lot of people think giving just involves money. Day 28, we talked about gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, and the power that that has on our life. And day 29, we discussed positive habits and rituals, morning rituals, continuous improvement. One of the ways that I found that helped me to move my life forward the fastest is by, once I figure out something that works for me, I find a way to make it a habit, or I find a way to make it automatic. I set alarms on my phone. I do all kinds of things to trick myself into forming habits out of things. So I get to the point where I don't even think about my morning ritual. I just automatically do it. It's been, 20 years that I've had some kind of a morning ritual, and it's changed over time, but I do what serves me, and as things in my life change, I change that up. It's another continuously improving thing. Day 30, we talked about simplification, keeping things simple, and a 30-day challenge isn't very simple. So the next challenge that I do will be simplifying all of this into probably a 5 or 7 day challenge to keep it simple so people can get results fast, and so you can get results fast. And then the longer version of this will go into some other format. But day 30 was a reminder to me to keep things simple, and a couple other things with the universe always supports us, and that the quality of the questions we're willing to ask ourselves and other people, and what we're willing to see, will determine what we actually see, the results we actually get, and what we're willing to see. And day 31, we also then re-looked at the day one of the things that we did was we looked at those 7 areas of our life: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationships, contribution, and financial. And we looked at them and we rated ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10 to determine where we were on April 1st. On April 30th, I asked you to do the same thing and then note what the differences were. So that is it in a nutshell. Challenge process. Challenges actually are the biggest gift that we ever have in our life. And I know that's kind of a bold statement, and a lot of times for me personally, and I guarantee for you as well, when you're facing a challenge, when you're in a difficult situation, it does not feel like a gift. It does not feel like anything good will ever come out of it. It often feels like it's the end of the world, the end of our life. But when we're on the other side of that, and so far we've gotten through the other side of every single one of the challenges we've ever faced before, we see the gift in it. We see how we've changed, how we've been forged by fire to be a better version of ourselves, the person that we're really moving toward becoming. And to me, that's the power of challenges. And I've gotten to the point where I actually get excited when I have a new challenge. And I'm in the midst of another new challenge. In the midst of COVID crisis, I am legally blind, and I have been figuring out how to cope with that and what I want to do moving forward in my life in the midst of this crisis. We all have our own unique situations. We all have something that we're dealing with, and having a process, having an actual process that we fall back on, or some tools in our toolbox to handle those more positively for us, is a really, really powerful thing. So I want to thank you for joining me on this amazing 30-day Get Up and Go challenge. I hope you've gotten up and gone at least on a couple of these activities, because I know how powerful they can be for you. And guess what? You don't have to do them all. If you can just understand the process and get yourself to take action toward what you want, that's all you really ever have to do, is continue to move toward what you want. Really, that's it in a nutshell. One sentence: overcome challenges by continuing to move toward what you want. Wow, I could have had a 30-second challenge instead of a 30-day challenge, but that's me overcomplicating everything, because that's what we humans do. Go out, have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, or if you want more detail on any one of these topics or days, I'm not sure I did a great job summarizing them, the recordings are available on the Get Up and Go page. They're organized on the Get Up and Go group page, so you can always join that. I think there's a couple questions at the beginning, but just ask, and then you can go to the unit section and you can actually go through them all in order. Or if you just want to revisit the topics. That's it. Have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you in a week or so with another shortened version of the challenge and another really exciting couple of things that I found out about as I was growing through the challenge and doing it. You can see I do it right along with you, right? It's a mess, but I like to do challenges right along with everyone, because every time I do a challenge, like I'm talking about a challenge, not every challenge, but a challenge like this, every time I do it, I learn and grow as well, and that's part of, I think, why I love them so much. So if I can help you in any way, in the comments below, any questions, any challenges that you're facing that you need help with, just ask. Please just ask. That's what I'm here for. Have an awesome day, an awesome life. Enjoy the COVID crisis, because we don't have any alternative, right? So we need to embrace what is and not wish things were different, because before we know it, if we're moving toward what we want, they will be different. All right.